regard to the UFO research, and I think Wendell has been through experiences that are actually very harrowing in connection with his UFO research. And I think a lot of us would have packed our bags and said goodbye UFO a long time ago had we been through all the things Wendell's been through. So it's a real tribute to Wendell's dogged determination to stay with this information and with this research. And it's like it's something that we all like to aspire to, I think.
He's certainly the most courageous person I know.
Well, there's something new all the time.
See? It's like, never say die.
Well, let's trip back in time here. When we last were talking, we were just beginning to approach the subject of ETs, UFOs, and the Nazis, and how those all came together back in the 30s. Wendell, you wrote a book called Planet Aryan of Aldebaran, and you talk a lot about the origins. You also wrote the Nazi flying discs book last year of the German V7 weapons development program.
Yeah.
And so you've done now a lot of research into the Nazi saucers, and I know, Jim, that's a field of expertise and special interest for you for these last 15 or 20 years as well, where you've really found a lot of material worth exploring in that realm as well. So Wendell, could you give us a brief summary of the Aldebaran case and how that relates to the Nazi flying discs?
Well, it appears that after World War I, when factories and production facilities in Germany were destroyed the first time, and there were a lot of engineers and factory people out of work, they gravitated to the universities looking for work, and we went in with aid programs, rebuilt the factories and the materials production facilities, and Germany ended up with the newest, most modern plant facilities in the world, and the rest of us still living with the old ones. So when the Aldebaran visitors perceived that our society is a very hostile society and we're always at war with somebody, they saw that only the affluent people could travel, and not enough of those of the rest of the world was traveling, and they thought that maybe the belligerence was coming from non-familiarity, that the poorer people, the far greater bulk of the people weren't moving at all, and they thought if they could mix better, they'd become acquainted and probably get over some of our violence, our hostility. So their plan was to, observing that only the affluent people could travel, their idea was to give us a means to travel where everybody could travel and everybody could afford to. And their idea was an airship transport of a different kind, a circular craft that could carry 200 or 300 people. It could rise and descend vertically from the city square to the top of a building, didn't need expensive infrastructure, and flew without fuel. It didn't require fuel, and so they could haul people at a very small fraction of the cost that it was costing up to that time. So they began inspiring the German engineers to build a circular craft of this kind and help them with some technology and some advice and suggestions. And
now this is prior to World War I, or World War II.
Before World War II.
Prior to World War II.
It was between the wars.
Between the wars, okay.
And so the engineers, many of them were working at the university in Vienna, where they had the best metaphysical library in Europe. And those German engineers, they were all good engineers, they began looking for the phenomena that underlies the physical phenomena that we work with in science. And they discovered two women that were doing research in the metaphysical library. One was the voice channel, and the other was the moderator. And they were doing the same thing, and the German engineers began asking questions through the moderator of the voice channel and began getting answers that they could check and verify and fit. And so they became interested in the knowledge of the channel that they were dealing with. And the channel began to suggest ways to improve the German science and to work on this airline of the future. And they were all excited because the prospect was work for everybody, and